Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends on 4th of July.
It's the 4th.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, July the 4th. Good to have you here. And we've got Larry Brown. And of course, on this 4th of July with Larry Brown, we've got patriotic music, right?
Well, I'm going to talk about two patriotic anthems, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
God Bless America.
Well, I'm going to let you catch the other one.
All right. Okay. All right.
It was on the eve of Armistice Day, 1938, so that made it November 10th.
Armistice Day.
It was the eve of Armistice Day. During two live radio shows, Kate Smith sang the recently rewritten Irving Berlin song, God Bless America.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, it began to be one of the most popular informal national anthems in the country. I mean, she recorded it live 71 times on her own radio show, but it was picked up by groups, civic organizations, and so on were playing it.
Oh, I remember as a kid listening to Kate Smith sing God Bless America, and it always would give me goosebumps listening to it.
But there was one person who was not so pleased. That very same winter, shivering in the cold in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, on his way from California to New York, Woody Guthrie was waiting to get transportation. And he had been hearing that song so much, and it irritated him. He thought it was jingoistic. In fact, he put it in that category of what he called sissy music. And he began to think about an alternative song. And that's when that first notion came to him that eventually became another informal national anthem, This Land Is Your Land. Now, there, through the years have been many informal national anthems. Star Spangled Banner is the official, but when My Country 'Tis of Thee was written by Samuel Francis Smith in 1831, it gained popularity. 1900, there was the Johnson brothers. James Weldon and Jay Rosamond had written Lift Every Voice, which was declared the black national anthem, I think in 1919 by the NAACP. 1904 had Catherine Bates' poem turned into song, Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies. So there have been informal national anthems, but nothing quite hit the population like God Bless America. Now, that was written by Irving Berlin. His name was Israel Baleen, and he came with his family in 1893 as refugees, Jewish refugees from Russia to the United States. He grew up in the streets of New York in difficult situations, discrimination against Jewish people, the economic turmoil. He was a part of what some even called the street Arabs of New York City. But with talent and support, he became one of the most popular songwriters in the country. Established his own publishing company. He wrote thousands of songs, and many of them turned into Broadway musicals or written for the musicals, movie scores. And he had originally written a song during World War II, 1918, that was a kind of a thank you to America for what it had been to him. And it had been a part of a musical, but it was in 1938, of course, when Germany was on the rise and Hitler was being aggressive, that American patriotism was on the rise, that Kate Smith had called him and asked him to create a song that she could do for Armistice Day. Well, he took kind of the gist of that song he'd written earlier and turned it into what we now know as God Bless America. But there were a lot of Americans in 1938 who didn't feel quite the same way. I mean, we had people who were still reeling from the crush of the Great Depression, and particularly on the Great Plains, the Dust Bowl. Woody Guthrie, born in 1912 in Oklahoma. But between 1933 and 1935, he and his family were Dust Bowl refugees and went from Texas to California. Well, he went from a hillbilly singer to and poet to a folk musician. He traveled across the United States, Texas to California to New York, but it was in the 1930s that he got associated with some other people that helped him launch his career. He was very much influenced by Carl Sandburg's folk song collections. Alan Lomax, who was a collector of folk songs. Will Geer was a supportive of him. Will Geer.
Oh, Will Geer, yeah. He was Grandpa on
Grandpa
the
Walton, yes.
Yeah.
And he met Pete Seeger when he was doing a benefit concert in New York for victims of the Dust Bowl. It was called the Grapes of Wrath benefit. Well, his song then went through a number of permutations. Carl Sandburg had written a parody to God Bless America and later apologized. But what Woody did is we kept rewriting the song. And in the 40s and the 50s, there were verses that came and went. There were changes to the lyrics. But it was picked up mainly by Pete Seeger and high school and children, youth across the country and other folk singers. And now today we think of This Land Is Your Land as being one of the most popular. Well, both songs were performed once together live by Bill Anderson in 1969, but generally we don't put those two songs together. I'm indebted to a book, This Land That I Love, by John Shaw, who wrote about the relationship of those two songs. I thought maybe if we got time, could I do a couple verses?
Please do.
Oh, okay, well, sure. Well, you know how it goes as it starts. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me then the endless skyway. I saw below me in the Golden Valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Now there's other verses that we don't always hear. Here's one. As I went walking, I saw a sign there. On the sign it said, no trespassing. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. He got some criticism for that anti-private property. Or this one. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. By the relief office, I seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me.
That's very nice, Larry. That's very nice. Thank you for sharing the history of two very famous songs. I did not realize all of the information that you were passing along.
They had that relationship.
Yeah, yes. I appreciate that. And especially on 4th of July.
Well, it's about our people and our land, and that's what we're patriotic about.
And if we can all just learn to get together, we get along together, we are one people. We need to be united. Think about that on our 4th of July as we celebrate our nation's birthday. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
All right. Happy 4th of July to you.
Happy 4th.
Bye-bye.